What's going on, guys? Kevin or the Sports Geek here, and in this video I'm going to take a look at my Sports Geek Pro model over at FantasyLabs for NFL Week 7, and I'm going to be taking a look at the quarterback position. So I've got 3 quarterbacks here checked under the like column. This is the new FantasyLabs beta version of their models, which is available to all members under NFL. You can go to models version 2. Really cool stuff here. I've got 3 of them checked off that I'm going to talk about, and then I've got a 4th quarterback that isn't rating too high in my model, but he's someone that I'll probably be playing this week. So starting off, we got Kirk Cousins. Washington is in Detroit. This game's got a really high total, around 49 points, and Kirk Cousins is only 5,900, so he will give you a bit of salary relief there. And his pass catching options are pretty cheap this week, depending on if Jordan Reed plays, I guess. So you could go Cousins Reed if he's there. You could go Cousins Jackson if Jackson's playing. But if either of those players are out, you can look to someone like Crowder, who I really like for Washington, to stack with Cousins, and that would be a really cheap stack. So he's rating number 1. He's in a good spot. Detroit's defense has been pretty brutal. Kirk Cousins hasn't done too much so far this year. He's been pretty consistent, pretty decent this year. If you look at his DraftKings scores, no real bad games, but no really good games either. He did have the 22 DraftKings points against Dallas. But he's throwing the ball a lot like he has in the past. And if you look at his game log going back to last year, he put up some monster games, 35, 38, 31 DraftKings points. So he's capable of doing that. And if you look at his matchups so far this year, Pittsburgh has a below average defense, but not awful. Dallas has a pretty decent defense. Giants are pretty good. Cleveland's pretty bad. But Baltimore and Philly both have at least average defenses, average to good defenses. So he hasn't had the easiest matchup so far this year. So I think against Detroit, he could have a big game. Moving down, we got Blake Bortles. He's facing Oakland, who have been one of the worst teams against quarterbacks the last year or so. And Blake Bortles has been one of the better fantasy scorers the last year or so. Although he hasn't put up many huge games this year, he does have a 25 and a 24 DraftKings scoring day. Couple bad games in there, but if you look back at his game log last year, you can see multiple games over 25 DraftKings points. A couple 34 and 35 that really stand out there. So he's capable of huge games, and he's got some good receivers that you can pair. You can go Allen Robinson, you can go Hearns if he's healthy. Julius Thomas with tight end you could do a double stack with him. So lots of options there. I think this game should be fairly high scoring. It's got a high total, and I think Bortles would be a good play this week. And then the 3rd rating quarterback is going to be a popular play this week, but someone I really like, Andy Dalton, going up against Cleveland. Cleveland has been really bad against quarterbacks for fantasy scoring this year. And Andy Dalton has looked pretty good all season long. He hasn't put up many huge DraftKings scores, but he's been very solid. 20 or more DraftKings points in 4 of his 6 games. And he hasn't had the easiest of schedules either. Besides maybe the Jets, he hasn't really faced a bottom defense. Other than them, he's faced a couple good defenses. Broncos, Cowboys have done pretty well this year. The rest of them are about average, but he's got the best matchup of the season probably for him, and he's only 6,000, and he looks like he's getting Eifert back, which will really help him out, I think, in the passing game. And you can pair him up with AJ Green, who's not too expensive. So those are 3 quarterbacks I really like, and now I'm going to move over to the trends and take a look at a 4th quarterback I like. All right, so the 4th quarterback I wanted to talk about was Tom Brady. He doesn't rank too high in my Sports Geek model. He doesn't rank too poorly, but he's not up near the top. So I wanted to create a trend and see how he does as a road favorite. So I've got the visitor team set to New England, and I've got the player set to Tom Brady. And I wanted to compare it between being a small favorite on the road and a large favorite, which he is this week against the Steelers. So I'm going to set the spread here to between 1 and 6.5 point favorites. And you can see Tom Brady on the road as decently small, 1 to 6.5. I'm going to categorize as small for this trend. You can see when he's below a touchdown favorite, he doesn't do too well. 15 DraftKings points on average, 15.2 if you round it up. And now I wanted to see how he does as a big road favorite. So we can just set that to any number above maybe 20 just to make sure we're including everything there. And this one to 7. So if he's a touchdown favorite or higher, we look at it, and now he's up to 20.7. So it's almost 5 points more when he's a big road favorite. So that's something I thought of and wanted to test out in a trend. And after testing it out, it was nice to see that he's averaging over 20 DraftKings points on the road, and then when he's a big favorite. And then to take it a step further, I wanted to mess around with a couple other things I usually look at with quarterbacks. And one of them was versus division opponents and non-division opponents. So non-division opponents, if you look at this, it takes out 2 games where he did really bad against divisional teams. And the reason that quarterbacks sometimes might struggle against division opponents is they face them twice a year. The defense is definitely more familiar with that quarterback and that offense. So sometimes quarterbacks do much better against non-division opponents. And if we filter that in, so if we look at just non-divisional games, which it is this week against the Steelers, you can see he's putting up an average of 26.9 DraftKings points. So I wanted to mention Brady. I think he's a great play this week. And it's also a way that you can make sure that you get players that aren't ranking high in your models, but you can create trends and find players that way. So I wanted to make sure that people know that even though the quarterbacks maybe aren't ranking high in your model, if you do some other research and you look at trends, you look at stats, that kind of stuff, you look at game logs, you can find other reasons to play certain players. So that's what I did for Tom Brady this week, and I think he's a good quarterback play as well. So the four quarterbacks I mentioned in this video, I'll probably have at least a couple lineups of each of those this week for some GPPs. So I hope this video helped you guys. Make sure you click that like or thumbs up button if you do enjoy these videos, and hopefully you make some money this weekend. Good luck. Cheers.